is the opinion. In the first paragraph, it indicates that the city of Galion is responsible for the forecast that's presented in this report. And that the auditor state's responsibility is determining if the city has met the criteria in which to be terminated from fiscal emergency. For our opinion, we indicate that there is nothing in the forecast or has nothing come to our attention that would indicate that the fiscal emergency should not be terminated. You'll also note that there's an indication there that this is a forecast, to recognize that it's a forecast, and that the city's actual operations over the subsequent 5 years would not be expected to actually match this forecast identically. I'm not going to go through each of these, but I will point out the most significant funds are the ones on A16 through 18, and those are utility funds. And we're going to go through a little bit of the assumptions very quickly, but the most significant assumptions related to the funds presented in the forecast is the expectation the city will continue to monitor their utility activities and increase rates if and when necessary. Starts with the expenditure assumptions. The assumptions presented in the forecast is that the city will continue with consistent staffing as they have today.
Caution you about just one thing. Today doesn't represent so much a safe sailing ahead as it does a restoration of integrity. You, like many cities around the state, are subject to a lot of potential outside influences that are beyond your control. It's very important that you continue the habits that you've had over these last years to avoid a return to problems. I commend you that you've not only managed to navigate out of state supervision today, but when I look at your financial health indicator dashboard, you are to the point where you only have one yellow light, no red lights, and you're actually performing as well as most of the cities in Ohio in terms of those 17 objective indicators. And I congratulate you on that.
The people who really need thanked are the taxpayers and citizens of Galion, who have been incredibly patient with the initial council and city manager and what led us into this mess, and then I think probably more importantly the subsequent city managers and councils that have really, made this happen. I think the transition back to a statutory form, in some senses, slowed us down, but what has been replaced, the revolving door of finance directors, is there's stability in that office. And I think back to the soon-to-be Attorney General's comments about integrity, I think it's real important, and a big difference goes back to what I started. When you have somebody in the community who's a citizen and taxpayer in the community, rather than a, if you will, hired gun, I think that puts us on a more stable footing. And so this council, auditor's office staff, certainly Mr. Yost, your staff are really the folks that have got us here, but we wouldn't be here if there wasn't the patience and the voters and the reassurance that we feel from taxpayers and neighbors.
With that, I have one more duty to discharge, and that is to, first of all, thank our community members on this panel, which are governor's appointees. I understand there's, and agree with a lot of the comments that it really takes quite a few people to make this happen. But I think special thanks on our commission here for the governor's appointees, Mr. Watt, Mr. Parker, and Mr. Graff, I'm sorry, I Mr. Wise.
I
I
yes,
will.
I do. I'm sorry.
Okay, go right
I want
ahead.
to be courteous. One thing, taking Auditor Rio's comments about the complexity in the future and things ahead, I think, I don't know that we'll do this in the form of an action, but I know a number of us feel that it would be wise if the city could continue some sort of state support, assistance from the auditor's office, at least 2 to 3 years, something to continue to monitor and support through the complexities and operating in now a new world that we haven't seen for, what, 14 years, I think, something like that. So, just make a record, it's not an action we can take, but I know a number of us feel that that would be a wise approach to, no pun intended, to continue to have state involvement and assistance as we navigate the waters a little more on our own.
But without the sum of the parts, there is no whole. And as I look around this room, I'm looking at a multitude of faces that were instrumental in us getting to this point.
Well, I would just like to say that this is a great day, obviously, and we're gonna have our work cut out for us, because as we all know, we're headed into budget preparation time of year, so.
My pleasure to present to the mayor, but on behalf of everyone who has worked so hard, this certificate in recognition of fiscal integrity, because all the pieces go together and are working as designed, and I congratulate you. Thank you.